Okay, so I started to record here. Hopefully it's going to record. So let's continue. Okay, if you have questions, don't hesitate. You can stop me at any time. We are going to continue. Okay, so we came here to the bread of shame, the shut off of the light. That basically the vessel. They said we don't want to receive anymore because we do nothing for it. We experience the bread of shame. We want to live. We want to have our own life. And then they exploded. They exploded in pieces. Not all of them. There is 10 sphirot, the 7 lowest sphirot, the 7 lower sphirot shadow. The 3 sphirot were strong enough and they were able to stay the lower part of the sphirot shadow. Okay? And that's going to have also an importance of the what we call Sphirot Elyon and Sphirot Tarton. Sphirot of the top and Sphirot of the bottom. Okay, we are always to have these two concepts come from the Shvirat HaKelim, because some of them survived, some of them did not survive. Okay, so yeah.
So the ones that shattered were rebuilt?
We're going to talk about it.
Okay. Does anything exist from those? Of the shattered ones still?
So the shattered one, like I said, they came up in pieces. Those pieces fell into the tumah. Okay? So they did not disappear because it was created, right? Nothing that's created by God disappears. There is no... God created them spiritually and physically, not on physical like we know the physical here. On this level of physical, He created those. And they just broke and they went into the tumah, what we call the tumah. We'll explain a little bit more what is the tumah, evil, and all of that. So they fell there. And because they fell there, we are going to understand what's happening next. Okay? So,
a quick question. Sorry.
Yeah.
You keep referring to the shut off of the light, right? The Shvirat HaKelim.
yeah.
You keep using the term, not the term, or the description that they chose, like the Sirot chose to stop.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. It shows.
Or is it that just that the or was so strong that the Keli just couldn't handle it? Not that they chose.
No, they chose to stop the light. Okay, and when they chose to stop the light, they realized how empty they were.
Why did they choose to stop the light?
Because they couldn't, because they had the bread of shame. Okay?
It's too much.
It's too much. So they say, we cannot. So they spend the bread of shame. So they say, we stop the light. As soon as they stop the light, then this is we want more light. Okay? And so now, God, okay, it gives all the time. That's going to come back to the what we discussed last week about the drug. So it come back because now they experience the light. They empty themselves, but now they want to experience that again. So what they did, they reopen it. And they opened it so big that they couldn't handle it. And then they shattered. Okay?
Quick question.
Yeah.
If they shattered and fell to tumah, then tumah was created before, it had to be created at some point before.
It was created with the desire to receive.
And
you remember what I said at the beginning, that there is two levels. There is God, which is the good, and there is the desire to receive, which is the gvura, which is the evil. Okay? So, what the desire to receive is, I cannot say it's bad because, again, if I say it's bad, that means the baby is bad. Okay? Baby is not bad. His desire to receive is limitless, is limiting. Okay? So, we are going to see what's limiting us in our life, all the difficulties and all the barriers that were in our life is because of this guy. And a lot of people, we were talking earlier here, people confuse this with this. Desire to receive, you can have a very nice word in English, okay, that everybody understands. It's called ego. Desire to receive equals ego. Okay? When someone has a big ego, he has a big desire to receive. Is it bad to have a big ego?
Not always.
Exactly.
Exactly, not always.
Okay. Most of the rich people, your ego compared to their ego is like that. Their ego is limitless. Because they want They have no limit on their desire. So we are going to talk about what the desire to receive, but really the desire to receive can be used for good, can be used for bad.
Well, it's your body.
Hmm?
The desire to receive is your body, and since the desire to impart is like your inside, so
It's the
obviously
soul.
connected to ego, because your body is what needs.
Yeah, the body receives, the ego, the soul gives. Okay, so that's, we can call our desire to receive the body, if you want. That's why we are created, the way we are created, as a desire to receive. But let's move on because there is other concepts here I wanted to discuss about the creation. So shut off the light. So now, the last stage here of the creation, it's called the Tzimtzum.
You heard that before?
Oh,
Tzimtzum?
where
The
did I
word
write that?
Tzimtzum. What?
Where did I write it? Where did I write
No. I'm asking, did you heard about it before?
Tzimtzum?
Tzimtzum.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. So Tzimtzum, what is the Tzimtzum? It's basically the light here, the desire to impart. There is no more vessels, right? The vessel broke. The vessel said, I don't want to give I don't want to receive light anymore. So what happened is like the light withdrawn from all of that. God had nowhere to give, so he withdrawn the light. And the light, the entire universe was fitting into a dot. The Tzimtzum means that all the light and all that was created and everything that's created and all because it was a lot of stuff that was created by God and shared by God, came back into one dot. Okay, that's the Tzimtzum.
Why one dot? How can so much light come back to one dot?
Because it's Tzimtzum is mean reduction, is mean contraction. So all the light contracted to one thing. Yes.
Is the dot metaphorical or literally a dot?
It's metaphorical for you
us
to understand. Okay?
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Can you see the atom with your eyes?
An atom.
An atom exists, right? That's atom, that's atom, that's atom. There's a lot of atoms. You take one atom, what the atom is composed with, you know, I'm not a big scientist, but you have an electron, you have a proton, and you have a neutron, right? You have three elements composing the atom. So you have the neutron and the proton and the neutron, and you have the electron going around, right? That's the element of the world. So those three elements existed. Today, when you go and how you create an atomic bomb, you eliminate one of the components, then you don't have balance anymore. The two other components collide and creates an immense amount of energy. That's what we call the atomic bomb. So atomic bomb is very simple process. Very simple process when you know what you are doing. You remove one element of the atom and that becomes an atomic bomb. Okay? So that dot represented the entire energy, this atom here represented the entire energy because our body, when our body starts, it starts with an egg. It's a very small thing. What do we have in the egg? We have the legs and the head and the heart and what the answer is? In the egg of the woman, when it's fertilized, do you have everything that comprises the body?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, you do.
Of course you do.
It's like in the seed of a tree. When you put the seed
don't
seed
have little
contains
cherries inside.
everything.
You don't see them.
You don't see them, but they're in the seed. They are the fruit, the leaf, the tree, the
the
branches. Everything is in
It's
one
going to
seed.
decide if the tree is going to be tall, small, have green leaves, red leaves. Everything is decided into the seed.
Oh, that doesn't make sense.
Okay? What?
That does make sense, yeah.
Yeah. So everything is in the seed. So in this dot here, when the light contracted, when the tzimtzum happened. So the tzimtzum is basically be able to put this bottle of water into a pill that size. Okay, that's what basically it happened. It was able to take all the energy, put that.
It's a reversal.
Huh?
A reversal.
You know, sometimes you see that in movie. I know you do not all watch movie, but you see something like going into some place, you know, and then the thing explodes like that, right? Okay. By the way, that's the way that the atomic bomb works, right? First it implodes, and then it explodes. Okay.
You could see in the pictures also.
So
Yeah.
so the implosion is the one that sucks the air, and people die from that because it removes all the air. There is no more oxygen, so people die from just for that. And then after that you have the explosion. So that's the same principle. Again, everything that we do physical exists come from the spiritual. So that's what happened here. So everything contracted, but now it contracted to a dot. It cannot stay there. Okay.
It has to explode.
It has to explode. And what it's called, the scientific, they call that the
Big Bang.
Bing, bing.
Big Bang. Okay? That's why they have this concept of the Big Bang. Okay? Is when this dot basically released all the energy and created the galaxies and created the planets and created everything physical.
Or they learned the Kabbalah and they made a theory out of
They read the Kabbalah book, someone was smarter than the other, and they came with the theory.
and then it's true.
Okay? So from this dot, world was created. The physical was created.
Us.
Everything.
Everything,
When it exploded, it didn't destroy, it made something new.
Yeah.
everything, and then that's what we call the exponential growth, and that's what the astronomers they said that the galaxies are in motion. They never stop growing, right? They say it never
Also
stop growing.
expanding, yeah.
It's expanding all the time because it's expanding from this original bang here. It never stops because the light never stops. If the light stops for 1 second, we don't exist.
Amazing.
Okay? 1 second, the light, God decides that that's why he cannot decide. If he decides that that stops, there is no more world. The world is recreated every second. Every single, it's not talking second, it's constantly being recreated. Okay, from that dot here and from the energy that's being liberated from this tzimtzum, from this contraction of the light. Okay, and that's the creation of the world. So, so the tzimtzum, if we want to be a little bit more, let's say, more advanced in the how that happened. So that's the first time that basically there is a self that was a self-notion, a self-consciousness that was created is after the tzimtzum. Before the tzimtzum, even the vessel here, they don't have this notion of the self, of myself. Okay? For example, I'll give you an example. Does the baby have a conscience of himself? You will see a baby will never say I. It will take few years before he says I. Okay? He always uses his name because he has no conscience of the self. The same thing that when this desire to receive was created, he was no conscience of self. So the self came after the tzimtzum. Okay? That's one of the things that was created. So let's go to the next one because it's important here. We are going to start talking for other concepts here that are going to help us. Okay, so that's the first thing that was created, beside the galaxies and everything, that is connecting to us is the self. Okay, so the self is made possible in Ein Sof. According to the teaching of the Arizal, the first act of creation was in Tzimtzum. Okay, so before the Tzimtzum, it was not part of the creation of the world. Okay, the world did not exist. So the Tzimtzum is the one that really everything started. This is the contraction and Sof and the formation of a world. Maybe some of you heard about it. It's called Tehiru. Te, Hi, Ru. Okay, that's one of the words. Don't have to, if you don't remember, that's okay. Tehiru was an empty space, and that's what is described into the first verse of the Torah. When it says Merachefet, it talks of the word of Tehiru. Okay, that it was nothing, right? It says because the light was not created and the darkness was not created, right? So it was Tohu Vavohu. That's called Tehiru. It's an empty space. And that's the space that came from the dot, right? Created the galaxies, but still in the space. And guess what? How we call the space? The space. Okay? If you know, you are going to see that a lot of the words that the scientific use came from whatever we learned tonight, it came from the Kabbalah here. Okay? That's an empty space. That's why here you can breathe. That's why when you go to space, you cannot breathe because it's an empty space. Okay?
Is there anything outside of space? Are there other life forms?
No, yes and no.
It's in water.
There is, it's going to be difficult to answer that question right now with the amount of knowledge we have, so I will say no.
But yes.
At this moment. Okay? So it contains only the divine light. So what we had there in Tehiru, we had the self-conscience, we have the Tehiru, the only thing that existed is the light, right? Because the light contracted and the light exploded. So the only thing that exists is the light. So there is no more Sphirot, there is no more anything. Okay? There is just Tehiru. And it contains the remainder of the divine light shown as known as Reshimu. So the light in Tehiru is called Reshimu. So that's a space, and that's the light inside the Tehiru is called Reshimu. And Reshimu is also called Tohu Vavohu. If you want to have this light is called the light of Tohu Vavohu.
What's the actual translation of Tohu Vavohu?
Balagan.
Balagan. Tohu Vavohu is like there is no seder, there is no order.
Yeah.
Okay? So the Tehiru is the space, is the world, and Reshimu is the light inside Tehiru which has no really form, or and it's the Tohu Vavohu.
Even in modern day Hebrew, how do you say Roshem in English? Like Lasot Roshem, so to have
Reshimu.
Lasot Roshem.
How do you say Roshem?
Roshem, impression.
Like impression. So Reshimu, it's not a form. It's an impression.
It's an impression in its light. It's not something.
It's not something that's defined.
It's not something defined exactly.
Not what it was. That's what it is.
Okay, so compared to the infinite and soft, Tehiru was like a tiny spot. So that's Tehiru. Okay, started with a tiny spot and started to expand. Okay?
We're not in. This is space.
That's the space.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, sorry.
So according to the teaching, before the Tzimtzum, all the power of God was in the infiniteness, right? The power of God was the desire to empower, right? That's what infiniteness. And then we're balanced without any division. However, the creation of the empty space, the Almighty concentrated on the root of Gvura. So now, he has this thing here, okay, that exists now. It physically exists, okay? That God did not intend to have those existed, but the Tzimtzum, the action of the Tzimtzum and the action of the vessel created this thing, and now God needs to take control of those things. Okay?
How can God make a mistake?
It's a good question. I want to talk about it.
You want a mistake to happen.
Okay. So, so now we have a new, I will say, entity that's going to be, that has been created. It's called Gvura. Gvura stands for judgment. Okay? So from Reshimu, so you had the space from the dot, then the light came back from this dot, it's called Reshimu, and then the judgment started to appear into a place that's called Gevura. don't mix the Gevurah here and the Gevurah the Sphira. It's two different things.
But Gevurah
That
is basically
Gevurah is a force.
God taking control.
You know, did you all watch the it's called Star Wars?
So,
Yes.
So you say, I have the force. You know, the force is with you. Okay, that's a force. Okay. By the way, Muhammad Kohavim, the Star Wars, also a guy from the Kabbalah that wrote that. So and every time you hear the force, is Gvura. So so the world. So the world, the way that God wanted it didn't exist, so we came to here, and then he was deprived. The place here was deprived of the light of God, because that was not the light of God that was here. It was the light of the Tzimtzum, which God was not part of it. It was not the desire to impart that created that, but the explosion of the light, okay, that created that. So the light that is here is not the light of God, okay? It's a different level of light, and that's why this light is linked to Gvura, okay? That's not anymore the desire, it's not good. Now we have the notion of
Dark force.
Of good
and bad.
and bad. Okay? The good is the light of God. The bad is the light from the light from the Tzimtzum. Okay? That created this thing here. The God of light, the light of God still exists. The good exists, but now we are talking about the bad, the judgment. So that was created by the Shmirat HaKelim.
Exists because the good's always feeding it, the Ein Sof's always feeding.
The bad existed because it was created by the Tzimtzum.
But the Tzimtzum's always happening.
No, the Tzimtzum happens only once. The expansion of the light happens all the time. It was only one Tzimtzum and one explosion. That's what we call Teiru, that created the space.
So it doesn't necessarily mean bad as in it's bad. It's the ability for bad. Because there's
okay, let's move on, and then you are going to rely a little bit more on the good and the bad, because again, now we are going into very close to us now. Okay, so now we have the good and we have the bad, right? So the Gvura is being created from the Tzimtzum. So now, the first reality that after the Tzimtzum and when the good and bad came, so God started to go and take control of all of that, and then he created what we call Adam HaKadmon. Okay, that's the first form that God created to start taking control. This Adam HaKadmon basically are the Sphirot, the way that we know them today. So now he said, okay, now this thing exists, I cannot stop it, because now it's an expansion. They use my light to create, they use the atom, they created an atomic bomb. Okay, now this atomic bomb is like going and growing and growing. Now I need to start taking control. So what he did, he created Adam HaKadmon. Adam HaKadmon was basically the Sphirot. It was created with letters. We are going to talk about how the world, how God created a balance, to be able to put bad good into this world. Because again, don't forget the Merachefet. I will recommend you tonight, before you go to bed, to take the first verses of the Bereshit. And you will say the first verses of Bereshit is this. The 3 or 4 verses is the entire creation of the world. Everything in those 4 verses is what I explained tonight. Okay? So, you have the Tuvavohu, you have the thing, you have the judgment and the thing and all of that. It's that part of the Torah, is the Bereshit.
Is this when time was created also?
Mm-hmm.
Is this when time was created?
No, time was not created yet. So Adam HaKadmon, he didn't have the time. The time was created after. So let me read that. So the first reality to emerge after Tzimtzum was Adam HaKadmon. They call that in English the primordial man. it contains all the sefirot as potential. Adam Kadmon is an intermediary role between the Ein Sof and the subsequent system of worlds. Okay, so God tried to fit him within this, Tohu Vavohu here. Okay, and from the head of the Adam Kadmon shone a short of light, which took various forms, and particularly the outline of the letter, because God used the letters to create Adam Kadmon. We'll talk about that in another class. And the light that proceeded from his ear, nose, and mouth of Adam Kadmon spread out straight line and formed the world of Akudim. So after this world here of judgment, there is another world was created. This world, the world Akudim. And this world of Akudim was created by Adam Kadmon with the light that he was receiving, with the letter. He created this world of Akudim, and Akudim is going to be. The next one is what you call Gan Eden.
Adam Kadmon was a person?
Adam Kadmon was not a physical person. He was a spiritual person. Okay?
No, but okay.
Okay, so Adam Kadmon was not, again, the first reality to emerge after Tzimtzum was Adam Kadmon, primordial man. It's called primordial man, but really it's not a human form that you have. He has all the attributes of the man. He has eyes, he has ears, but it's not someone that you can see. Okay, it's not someone that today we will be able to see. It says it contains all the sefirot as potential. Adam Kadmon is an intermediary between the realm of Ein Sof and the subsequent system of worlds. So he's in the middle.
God's manager.
Okay, so from the head of Adam Kadmon, stone forth of light which took various forms, in particular outlined the letters. So the letters came out of him, of Adam Kadmon. So all the letters and all that, the form of the letter came out from him. And spread out, straight line, and formed the world Akudim. Okay, so when Adam Kadmon was putting his light was forming Akudim, which is the world before Gan Eden. Okay, so it says that the world of Tohu, okay, so the world of Tohu existed and the world of Akudim existed. So those worlds were existing in parallel. Imagine the planet. You have one planet here and you have one planet there. So they both exist, but they are not yet really working together. Okay? So they both existed, but they were not at the same level. Okay? And so it says that the world of Tohu was in this one, that was the world of Tohu, and this one was the world of Akudim. So there was two different worlds.
In Gvura or in Self?
In Gvura, that was the bad, that's what this world, and then the Adam Kadmon in Akudim. So that was a different world. And then here you had the light of God, and here you had the light of the Tzimtzum. Okay, so we talk about the shadowing here of the light, and let's say I'm almost done here. Here's my first class here. Let's see what we have left. Okay, so now God started to rebuild the thing here. He says the form here of this Gvura, light, space, Tehiru, Reshimu, and Gvura cannot sustain himself. So it says that in the example of the world of Tohu, the Almighty was convinced that the creation cannot exist in such form, since correction would be impossible in such a world. Creating the opportunity for correction required a fundamental change, and the whole configuration of the sefirot system made this interaction possible. So now, from the sefirot, okay, we created Gan Eden, okay, and Gan Eden was only good, right? Okay, that's what basically, so God took back control, recreated the sefirot that can handle the light the way that it should be, because now you realize that the way that he created them, making sure that he doesn't give them lechem bizayon, okay, and created a way of sharing. That's why if you look at the sphirot now, you see the sphirot they share with each other. Okay, they share the light. So there is a system now. The first time that those sphirot were created, it was no system. It was just everyone was for himself, and they couldn't share with each other. So now the sphirot here at that level, they were recreated, but they were created in a way that they can share to each other. Okay, this one didn't exist yet. So all the sphirot recreated, and then he was able to go and canalize the light of good. Okay. Because it said that this world here will not have been able to exist. This world here is the world that when you know the scientists, they say, oh, it was 1 million years, it was 3 million years, it was the mountain, it was the ice, it was the thing. That's this world here. People could not live in it. Okay? So really the world, the way that the world was able to go and function is when God basically created this notion of sphirot, be able to canalize this light, and extract from this tohu vavohu a system that makes still this thing works. You are going to tell me, is the tohu vavohu doesn't exist? Ima. Is the tohu vavohu doesn't exist? It does exist. A lot of people, they live in tohu vavohu in their life. Okay? So it's not that something that is not something that we feel today. Okay? A lot of people, you know, we are not in Gan Eden, right? We have a lot of this tohu vavohu here, a lot of the gvora, you know, judgment, you know, a lot of people, they suffer. Where this suffering comes from? It comes from here, from all this light that was created.
That energy?
Mm-hmm. It's never disappeared. God took control of it, but did not eliminate. Okay? He tried to eliminate, and that's the next week. Gan Eden, the apple, the wife, he eat the apple, the Etz HaChaim, it's good and bad, Etz of knowledge, and all that. So all this thing here is going to be next week, but that's what basically, in a very high-level way, explanation of how this world was created all the way to Gan Eden. Okay, but again, everything that we discussed tonight, all the concepts that we discussed tonight, we do experience them in our life. It's not something abstracted from us. Because we are the result of all what we call seder and hishtalshelut. How's hishtalshelut?
Creation?
No.
It's like a chain.
A chain.
Chain
of events.
A chain of events. Hishtalshelut. Okay, that we are the result of it. So we have a spark. We have a spark from the tzimtzum. We have a spark from the beginning. Okay? We have we have the desire to impart. Okay? Not the way that again, it's not when you give when you give a candy to your son, it's not your desire to impart. Okay? I can tell you. That's not this desire to impart, yeah, we are going to talk about, it's a very high level. Okay? It's they call it in I was explaining that it's when you do Mesirat Nefesh, when you give your life for God, you tap into the desire to impart. So it's like, it's a very high level. Okay, so we have this, okay, we have the cause and effect in our life. Unfortunately, those are not connected, like we explained earlier, right? There is no connection between the cause and effect in our life, but there is still cause and effect. You do something, something happens to you. Okay.
There is, but we don't see it.
There is a connection, but it's not immediate.
Okay.
We don't
there is one thing that can be immediate. If you put your finger into the electrical thing,
on a
there is
fire,
the cause
yes.
and effect is immediate. Why is that? Because the electricity is linked to the God. Okay, the electricity comes from God, right? It's not being created. It always existed. They just revealed it. They didn't discover it. Okay. So that's the cause and effect. That's one of the cause and effect that you can see the real, what is the cause and effect. So if you want to experience it, you go home, you put your finger, you'll know what is cause and effect. Okay? Yesh me'ayin. Yesh me'ayin also is us. What is yesh me'ayin? Okay? Your wife is doing design, right?
Yeah.
Okay? She has the design in her head before it's materialized. So there is nothing, which is her thought, to something. Okay? So the yesh mi'ayin is always something that we have with us, The yesh is what we do. The me'ayin is what we have in our head. Okay? So that's also part of us. The desire to receive, of course, we are a ball of desire to receive. Okay? The vessel is what basically canalizes the light in our life, in our body. If you look at the body, if you look at that, maybe that's the head. Okay? Maybe that's the limbs. Maybe that's the body. Maybe that's the sex. Okay, Yesod. Maybe that's the feet, Malchut, because we are on the earth. The earth represents Malchut. So that's our body. We are Sfirot. That's what we are. Okay? That's one Sfira. That's another Sfira. That's another Sfira. Count the number, you'll see it's 7. Part plus the Keter, the Chokhmah and Bina, which is our head. And you are going to have all the parts of the body. So we are part of the Sfirot. Okay? The Sfirot that have been created here. And when they were created, the vessel, we are part of the vessel here. Okay? So that's also part of us. Shut off of the light, it's something we do all the time. I don't want to do anything anymore. I don't want to have this customer calling me. I don't want to have my wife nudging me all the time. I don't want my kids to do that. I don't want this. I don't want... Let's shut off everything. Let's go on vacation in Cancun and let's leave everything to the thing. Okay? That's shut off of the light. We do that constantly. And what's happening when you do shut off of the light?
Bread of shame.
You have bread of shame, you have tzimtzum. Okay? So we tzimtzum our life all the time. Okay? And the tzimtzum is the lack of light. It's something that basically we get, instead of using the light and expanding it, we get the light and we internalize it. That's the tzimtzum. So we have to be careful to not use that and I get stuck, because when it gets stuck in our body, then we have what? Okay? We have the self. It's all about myself. Okay? That's what you create. The tzimtzum created myself. Because if you don't share, if you don't give anything, if everything is internalized, all what God gives you stays into your body instead of sharing, instead of giving back, instead of using the desire to empower, then you have the notion of self. Self represents Gvura, because self represents Ratzon lekabel le'atzmo. Ratzon, something. Your left hand is Gvura. If you didn't know.
I'm a lefty.
That's Chesed. That's Gvura. It doesn't matter. Lefty, you have maybe more Gvura in your life, but it doesn't matter. That's why we put the tefillin, and you should put on the left hand, you put here the tefillin. When you put the tefillin, you bind the Gvura, you bind your judgment. That's what you do. And you do what? With 7 times, right? Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut. Okay? And you bind that with what? With your right hand, which is Chesed. So you take the Chesed, you take all the Sfirot, and you bind your Ratzon lekabel, because Ratzon lekabel is judgment. You want judgment in your life? No.
3, 7, 3. That's 13.
No. You do 7 here.
7.
I know, but you do 3 here.
Okay, 3 is Keter Chokhmah Bina.
Yeah, 7.
7, and that doesn't matter. Here, you can do Yud, you can do Shin, you can do whatever.
So not everyone does 3.
No?
A lot of people do
Just
3.
do 1 or
The
2.
one that matters, the only thing on the
Sfaradi, Ashkenazi, and everybody.
the only thing that matters is how many steps you have here. This one and this one do not matter. Okay? So that's what you do every day. Because every day you need to remember that you don't want to live in this world of Gvura, you want to live in this world of the good. In order to live in the good, you need to nullify the Gvura, like God did when He created this world of Akudim. He wanted to nullify the Gvura, balance back the Gvura. So the Gvura exists, the judgment exists in your life, you want to control it. Okay? So all your life is described in this, different stage that you have, and we have all of that within us. So the creation of the world, the way we are in personalization of this creation.
Holy shit.
Good night.
Sure.